Hi, welcome to Khaniji Care. Today we are going to discuss a different concept relating to the Constitution of India and Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Friends, this will enhance your knowledge, your thinking ability, and the history of the Constitution. In this session, we discuss the Ambedkar's preamble, share a knowledge about the Constitution and the work done on the Constitution of India. In this session, we can understand the authorship of the preamble. Authorship of the preamble. Who wrote the preamble to the Constitution of India? If that sounds like the sort of question you might expect to find in a Union Public Service Commission UPSC coaching manual, that's because it is. The answer that such manuals invariably offer is wrong. The authorship of the preamble is shrouded in a cloak of mystery. Unlike the Constituent Assembly, we have no verbatim transcripts for the drafting committee meetings where all sections and articles of the Constitution were presented, discussed, dissected, debated, modified, and finalized. Instead of transcripts, we have minutes. And in those crucial drafting committee meetings, when the preamble was up for discussion and finalization, we don't even have all of the minutes. Even worse, the various narratives that we do have today, inside views by those who attended the drafting committee meetings, contemporary statements or writings by Constituent Assembly members not privy to the drafting committee meetings, or speculative accounts by historians or others familiar with the drafting process, all seems to disagree on the details. There are four competing narratives about the authorship of the preamble. The first narrative, the first, which for the purpose of convenience we can call the UPSC coaching narrative, is that Jawaharlal Nehru was essentially responsible for the preamble. It was on the basis of his objectives resolution that the Constituent Assembly unanimously adopted the aims and objectives of the future Constitution of India. The complaint that we just heard from Constituent Assembly member Mohani throws this option open to question. The second narrative is a sophomoric view of sorts because it mixes advanced knowledge about the history of constitution drafting in India with prejudice against Dr. Ambedkar. In this account, it is B.N. Rao who is credited with authorship. It was in his role as constitutional advisor that he was tasked with putting together a full working draft constitution that would form the basis of the drafting committee's future labor. The third narrative, The third account attributes authorship to the drafting committee as a collective whole, joyfully adding that each of its members played a part. While this makes for a pleasant historical narrative, useful for evoking that warm and fuzzy national sentiment that we seek to read into the collaborative origins of Indian Republic. It is, it is believed by the facts as T.T. Krishnamachari, a member of the drafting committee and the author of memoirs and audio recorded interviews that offer an inside look, himself detailed. Out of the seven original members of the drafting committee, one died, that is D.P. Khetan. One was away in the United States. Krishnamachari was referring to B.N. Rao here, who was not actually a member. One was engaged in the affairs of the state, who is N. Gopal Swami Iyengar, and two, that is Muhammad Saadullah and N. Madhava Rao, could not be in Delhi owing to ill health. In short, Krishnamachari claimed that five of the key persons actually had either little or no contribution in the drafting process. So it happened ultimately that the burden of drafting the constitution fell on Dr. Ambedkar, and I have no doubt that we are grateful to him for having achieved this task in a manner which is undoubtedly commendable. As far as the drafting and finalization of the preamble was concerned, there were only four members present in the early meetings and only three in the final meeting. One, of course, was Dr. Ambedkar, who never missed a single meeting. And thus we come to the fourth view, which grants Dr. Ambedkar authorship of the preamble, not definitively or particularly, but by default. Given the ubiquity of Dr. Ambedkar's designation as chief architect of the Constitution, it seems to follow that he must also be the chief architect of its preamble. This view is problematic on two accounts. The first problem is that the drafting of the Constitution and the preamble were two very difficult, albeit overlapping, process. This will become clear as we explore its secret history. The second, which is not the concern of this book, relates to the debates surrounding the distinction between author and architect. While most of this debate, motivated by caste prejudice and identity politics, is not worth attending to, it does necessarily challenge the logic of default authorship of the preamble. That is, just because a person is the designated chief architect of a document does not necessarily mean that he or she is its author too. The fine obituary speech for Dr. Ambedkar that then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru delivered in the Lok Sabha on 6th December 1956 further reinforced the widespread designation of Dr. Ambedkar as chief architect. Nehru had said he is often spoken of as one of the architects of our constitution. There is no doubt that no one took greater care and trouble over constitution making than Dr. Ambedkar. Critics, however, are quick to point out that in his own 25th November 1949 concluding remarks regarding the constitution making process, Dr. Ambedkar liberally portioned out the credit that the assembly was bestowing upon him to many others, both inside and outside of the drafting committee. Of course, the simple exercise of common sense would indicate that for Dr. Ambedkar, not to spread credit would have been megalomaniacal, which by all accounts was alien to his nature. But more important than those who problems assailing the view attributing default authorship of the preamble to Dr. Ambedkar was the lukewarm nature of the attribution itself. So much focus was placed on foregrounding his role in the drafting of the overall constitution that his authorship, specifically of the preamble, got blurred in the background. In what follows, the focus will be different. The preamble is sharply foregrounded and the rest of the constitution is somewhat blurred. Ideally, a comprehensive book will appear on day utilizing deep focus with the preamble and the body of the constitution fully explored in all of their entangled richness with nothing blurred. Until then, it will be valuable to amplify attention on the preamble in particular because the message of this truly wondrous and historic set of 81 words, both the immediately discernible message as well as the secretly encoded one, merits as wide a dissemination as possible. Stated succinctly, the preamble trumpets our collective aspirations as a republic. Indeed, it articulates the principles that precondition the possibility for our unity as a nation. The preamble after Dr. Ambedkar. Question. Dr. Ambedkar's preamble, the original preamble to the Indian Constitution, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. This version differed from the present post 1976 preamble by being 4 words shorter. It did not include the three main concepts of secular and socialist and integrity or the preposition of our preamble today is 85 words, not 81 as per the 1950 original. But just as we will not be focusing upon the constitution in this book but upon the preamble instead, we are also limiting our exploration to Dr. Ambedkar's preamble and not its later trajectories. The preamble after Dr. Ambedkar has had an eventual career not only in terms of its amendment but perhaps with regard to its adjudication. Courts have ruled diversely on the relationship of the preamble to the body of the Constitution itself and how why it is a part of the basic structure of the Constitution. All of this jurisprudential history with its reversal and ambiguities and achievements is fascinating. Thankfully, There is no shortage of literature on it. What this vast body of literature uniformly fails to feature, however, is the historic nature of the moment when the preamble to the Constitution of India made its first appearance. That moment has well documented but scarcely investigated date of birth. It was born on 6 February 1948. Who were the parents? What was its genealogy? What was its gestation period? Where was it delivered? Why was it born on that specific day? How did it grow or develop? All of this has remained a secret till now.